The second item regarding short-term rentals, I concluded my questioning of all the council members regarding any potential voting conflict of interest. Based on the information I was provided both at the public meeting and also in my individual conversations with them, I can advise you that the only council member who has a voting conflict of interest concerning this matter and therefore will be unable to participate in the appeal is Mr. Wilson. All of the rest of the sitting council members are available and are free of any conflict of interest, which would preclude them from participating. Now, let me just add one more thing for both the parties and the public. Under Section 86-21 of the Land Development Code, which governs this proceeding, the parties will have ample opportunity on December 11th to present anything and everything that they want you to consider regarding this matter, and under 86-21, the public has an opportunity to be heard. So you all will be afforded an opportunity to give input before the decision is made by City Council, and I would just ask the public, the participants and council to honor the process and not have any substantive discussions ahead of the December 11th hearing.
We will schedule items only that are absolutely necessary, if any, for the December 11th date in order to preserve as much as possible of that afternoon solely for the hearing on the short-term rentals. It's our anticipation that the hearing itself will run between 5 and 7 hours based on the attorneys that are involved and the testimony you're likely to hear.
Okay. One other question. If we as collectively as a council are sitting as a judge in this case, then we are the triers of the facts as well as the person that decides the issues of law, correct?
Yes, but again, this is more law-driven because it's an appellate proceeding as opposed to a trial where there's factual determinations. So the emphasis is you will be deciding the appropriate law.
And since most of us aren't lawyers and don't have the background and experience in that, are you in a position to give us instructions on the law applicable to this case?
Yes, my role in the hearing will be to represent City Council in the proceeding. Just like when it was heard by the Planning Commission, my role there was to represent the Planning Commission. So procedural issues, procedural questions, things of that sort, I will be available to assist you and answer any questions that you might have during the process.
Okay. What about advocacy? How do we get advice if it's in conflict with procedure?
The advocacy you're going to receive is from the 4 attorneys. Andrea Zellman on behalf of the zoning administrator, Rick Rumwell on behalf of what I'll classify as the appellants, Mr. Roberts on behalf of Merle Grazier, and Mr. Priestad on behalf of Marilyn Hollowell. If you have a question about the procedure that's being followed for you to render your decision, I will be glad to assist you in that, but I will not be advocating one side or other of the main issue.
Who's going to give us advice then on making a legal determination?
I don't think anybody will. If you're asking, will one of the attorneys help you make up your mind, that's not the place of the attorney. You will hear all of the argument, and then you, as a City Council member, will make a decision as to whether or not you feel Mr. Slaughter's zoning determination is correct or incorrect. And you can't ask the attorneys to make that decision for you.
I wasn't asking them to, us. Who helps us through that? Or we just listen
Can
and say...
Can you give me an idea as to what you mean help you through it? I mean, you make decisions at City Council meetings every other week.
Well,
and this is just another decision you're going to have to make after hearing input from 4 attorneys.
Planning Commission got all tangled up with no advice on whether, if it's stated, it's permitted only, or if it's not stated, it's permitted because it's not allowed.
You will hear from the 4 attorneys as to what the impact is of a permitted use stated or not stated within the Land Development Code.
But they gave him a whole stack of books to read during that hearing, and nobody came to help him out. And I don't want that to happen to this council.
Well, if you need help, ask for it. Planning Commission
whom?
didn't ask for any assistance. They had all the input that they needed to render their decision, and none of them have expressed to me a concern about the lack of assistance. So I'm sure that with 4 attorneys making a presentation to you and council and me providing you assistance on the procedural matters, I can't imagine that there's going to be any void that you need to be concerned with. But if there is, we'll deal with it on December 11th.
Judge Moore, do you agree with that?
Well, let me just make a few other comments. You've described the council sitting collectively as a judge, but in a way, we also sit as a jury. And in a jury trial, for example, if I can use that as a comparison, the jurors are not trained in the law. So they have, in order to make a decision and apply the facts that they find to the law applicable to a case, they have to be given the law. So I anticipated that at some point in this proceeding, lawyers are going to give you what they say is the law that supports their position or their argument. And the law, and then the other side will give you the law that they say supports their position or their argument. So we are going to have to decide not only the facts, but we're going to have to understand the law and apply those facts to that law. If you have a question about the law, or one of the lawyers didn't give you something that the city attorney might be able to clarify, then I think he can fulfill that role of giving us the law to apply.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. I do want to remind you, this is a hearing under Section 86-21 of the Land Development Code, which is a fairly recent change in the code that this city council requested for you to hear these appeals de novo. So this role, although it may be somewhat difficult for laymen to fulfill, it's a role that basically you placed upon yourselves, wanting to hear this de novo as opposed to a record review, which was the previous standard. And I'm sure you're going to do fine. You're going to have enough attorneys in this room telling you what to think, what to do, and how to decide it. I don't think you're going to lack for advice. And you're going to do fine.
$400 an hour times 4.
A lot of money. That meter will be just spinning like crazy. Any other questions that I can help you all with? Thank you.